Hello, everyone, and welcome to Autism Stories, where we connect you with amazing people who are helping autistic adults and teens become more successful. I'm your host, Doug Bletcher, the founder of Autism Personal Coach. Helping people become successful is the job of any coach. And on this episode of Autism Stories, Kent State men's basketball head coach Rob Senderoff talks about coaching the first openly autistic player to play Division I college basketball in Kalin Bennett, and how he is helping him to become more successful as a basketball player and what he has learned in the process from Kalin. If you would like to be notified about each week's episode of Autism Stories, we suggest you subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. We'd also really appreciate if you could give us a positive rating and review, as it will help others to learn about Autism Stories. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Coach, thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Now, this past season, you coached the first openly autistic player to play Division I college basketball in Kalin Bennett. I wanted to start off by learning, where did you first learn about Kalin?
Yeah, I had an assistant coach who is good friends and knows high school. It's actually a prep school in Missouri that Kalin attended. It's called Link Year Prep. My assistant, Matt Sly, he sort of was aware of Kalin, had been following him. And then during the summer of 2018, that summer, he had me watch Kalin, and I was really attracted to some of the things he did on the court, and we started recruiting him then.
Everyone comes from different backgrounds and experiences. So what was your knowledge and experiences with autistic people prior to meeting Kalin?
Borderline zero. I don't have any family members that that I'm aware of that are on the spectrum. I have a couple friends who have children on the spectrum, but very little interaction that I've had I did not have a tremendous understanding of what it meant to be on the spectrum. And obviously, having recruited Kalin for a year and coached him for a year, I'm much more aware today than I was back then.
So other than my passion of supporting autistic people, I'm also passionate about college basketball, and know that you probably aren't going to offer someone a scholarship who doesn't at least have the potential at some point to help you win basketball games. So
we only get 13 scholarships. There's as a college basketball coach, a Division I coach, there's no, I'm going to use this word, it may not be the right word, but there's no charity cases for giving out scholarships. Like, I wasn't recruiting Kalin so that I have an opportunity to speak to you, with all due respect. Right, like that wasn't my goal in this deal. The idea was, we saw a kid who was 6'10", big and strong and athletic, thought he had a chance to be a good basketball player. Still think he has a chance to be a good basketball player. He has a lot of work to do, and he's not there yet. But we thought, that he had the potential to help our program, and in doing that, we offered him a scholarship, and then he chose to come to Kent. So, we'll have a couple more years to work with him and hope that we can get the most out of him during this time.
Now, when you learned Kalin was autistic, did that change your process in recruiting him in any way?
Well, the only thing I wanted to make sure was that we had the resources available from an academic, and knowing that we had a program for autistic students here at Kent State, and actually a very good one. Had we not had the resources available for Kalin off the court, it's almost like some kids you recruit and they say they want a certain major. If you don't have that, it's hard to recruit them. So if we didn't have the services available that Kalin needed to be successful off the court, it would have been hard to recruit him. Fortunately, Kent State has one of the best programs programs nationally for students that are on the spectrum. And as we're learning, there's more and more young folks that that are on the spectrum. So it's certainly an advantage for Kent as a university when somebody's on the spectrum and wants to go to college. And then it actually became something that for Kalin and his mother, they felt the comfort level in Kent State beyond just the basketball. They felt like he could thrive here academically and socially as well.
Now, in terms of playing time during Kalin's freshman year, 7 of your 9 players who played your most minutes were upperclassmen, which meant limited playing time for Kalin, and in some cases like this, or in many cases, freshmen are redshirted. Was there consideration in redshirting Kalin, which would have meant giving him a year to develop his skills and not being able to play at Kent State for that year while still retaining all of his college eligibility?
Yeah, it was under consideration at the time. I haven't had a number of question marks with some of the upperclassmen in terms of their abilities. One of our leading returning players was coming off an injury. Wasn't completely sure if that young man would be able to play this year. So we made the decision to play Kalin. There's certainly potential that maybe he redshirts this coming year. It's not something I've talked with him about or really thought about right now, but you don't have to redshirt your freshman year. You can redshirt another year, and that's, again, it's not something we're discussing or even thinking about right now. Right now, Kalin's got to just keep working and get better as a basketball player, as an athlete, so that he can have more of an impact his sophomore year. A number of guys did graduate in front of him. So this year is obviously an important year for him as a player. And what he does during the off season will certainly have an impact on how much he plays during the season. And there'll be other guys that are competing against him, but hopefully Kalin is up for that challenge here, having been through a season of practice and getting out on the court a little bit, even though it was limited. Hopefully he'll be ready to contribute this coming season.
Now, in preparation for interviewing you, I tried watching as much film of Kalin playing for you and also in high school as I can find. One thing that interested me after watching this film was his communication on the basketball court. It seems like he's really trying to talk with his teammates, to communicate with them verbally or non-verbally, and looks like a really good teammate. Is that an accurate portrayal of Kalin as a basketball player?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. In fact, when I watched him during the summer, prior to his prep school season, before we recruited him, what drew me to him was how vocal he was, how enthusiastic and good a teammate he was with the AAU team that he played for. He is like that at practice. He's a great teammate. Kids really gravitate to him on our roster. The key for Kalin as a basketball player is his conditioning, his ability to play through fatigue, his daily focus, just like a lot of kids, whether you're on the spectrum or not on the spectrum. A lot of the same challenges Kalin faces are those that most college players face, and quite frankly, the difference between those that are successful in college and those who aren't successful in college often comes down to who is willing to work the hardest, who is willing to tune out the outside noise. One of my things with Kalin is he spends too much time on social media. He needs to get in the gym more. He's not the only young player it's that way for. That has nothing to do with him being on the spectrum. That has to do with him being a young man who has a lot of things, that are pulling at him while he's a college student. He needs to continue to focus, needs to continue to work hard. And as he does those things, he'll see more and more success on the court. And then, again, just like a lot of young kids, how do you handle that success? In Kalin's instance, the success will be even magnified because of his backstory.
You were mentioning a little bit about his teammates, and I think basketball can be a great sport for autistic people because it gives them an opportunity to develop community with their teammates and sometimes those that they compete against. Can you talk a little bit about the relationships that Kalin has developed with his teammates since his time at Kent State?
Yeah, he's done a great job in that area. Again, he's a very personable, likable young man. Very engaging. Guys find him funny. They like being around him. He's uplifting. He has a smile on his face almost every day at practice. He's a very good teammate. So, in all of that respect, he's done an excellent job. His teammates really gravitate towards him, and people root for him. And that's important on any team. You want kids that are easy to play with and that are easy to root for. And Kalin certainly fits into that mold.
What about support or accommodations? Have those been much different for Kalin as compared to some of your other players?
He gets judged the same way every other player on my roster gets judged, based upon production, based upon how well he practices, how hard he practices. At the end of the day, if he can't pick up things, I can't put him on the court, period. And when he is able to pick things up and things may be a little bit more difficult for him at times, well, then it's his responsibility to get with a coach after practice, prior to practice. He does a great job getting with my strength coach every day, just about every day. Getting with my strength coach to do some extra conditioning. I obviously really liked Kalin. Nobody's going to play because of that. They're going to play because they produce on the court or don't produce on the court. And same with practice. So, Kalin knows, and we will break things down for him individually prior to practice, after practice, sometimes show extra film with him individually. But at the end of the day, when the ball goes up, it's not like the other team is going to care, that he's on the spectrum. They're trying to compete, and we're trying to compete. And he's got to be able to work through all those things.
College basketball players can make tremendous progress from when they are freshmen, maybe not playing very much, to the time when they become juniors or seniors and playing some really important minutes. What are some of the things that Kalin needs to work on to earn more playing time?
Yeah, great question. It's conditioning. That's first and foremost. He needs to get in great shape. And he lost a lot of weight. He got here, he weighed over 300. I think he weighed as high as 330 pounds. He weighs under 300 right now. I haven't been able unfortunately, because of the situation we're in as a country, I haven't been able to see Kalin for a few weeks. But he was under 300. He probably needs to be weighing about 280 to be impactful. He needs to be running every day right now while our season is out. He needs to be doing conditioning exercises daily. He needs to work on his diet daily. As far as his ability as a player, he's big, he's strong, he's got a nice touch around the basket. The things that limit him right now, for the most part, have to do with things he can control. It has zero to do with, him being on the spectrum. That has nothing to do with his ability to be in great shape. So, if he wants to be the player that, as you said, I've had a lot of guys that, as they become juniors and seniors and sophomores, their playing time has increased and their role has increased and their ability to produce on the court has increased. Kalin needs to continue to grow as a player. He needs to continue to work on his body and his game. But right now, he needs to really work on his body. And as he does those things, you can expect, and he can expect, to see more playing time and then more success on the court.
I've heard of players often talk about watching film of other players to learn things for the purpose of trying to incorporate those things in their game to be better
Yeah.
players. Is there film out there that you or your staff have recommended for Kalin to watch of players that would benefit him in becoming a better basketball player?
Yeah, absolutely. We show them film almost every day, and there's lots of examples. I have assistant coaches that work with them and show them NBA players, show them old NBA players, the Shaquille O'Neals of the world, show them other players in our conference, show them other college players. You see, when Zion Williamson catches the ball deep and takes one dribble and just finishes right on top of the rim. Kalin's never going to be a player that you're going to see playing at the three-point line. It's just not what he does, but he's a physical, athletic, strong, around-the-rim basketball player. And there's a whole bunch of them that have done very, very well in college, in the MAC, in the NBA, that we are constantly showing him film and showing him things that he can incorporate that will help him be better. 90% of Kalin's ability to score, just using on the offensive end, is going to be catching the ball where he wants to catch it, as opposed to where the defense wants him to catch it. And that's fighting for every inch on the court, and making sure that he's using his big frame and strength and physicality to his advantage. That's something that he's learning, and something that I do think he got better at as the year went on. He's just got to continue to work at those things.
Now, talking about his big frame, like what about like off the ball? Because his frame like that would make me think that he could be valuable as a screener in situations on offense.
Yep, absolutely. And same thing again. Screening just like scoring. Those are things you have to work on. You have to work on sprinting into the screens. Getting the right angle, not moving, because guys like him get called for moving screens a lot. Just learning all the nuances of playing basketball at this level. And I thought I thought he got better as the year went on. For the most part, I thought he got better as the year went on. It's unfortunate this offseason we haven't been able to work with him because of obviously our situation here. Everybody's across the country's in a lockdown mode. So that's been unfortunate because we haven't had that opportunity to work with him here right now. But there's a lot of things he can be doing to improve as a player. And when we do get back together at some point here, whether it's in June or July or September, whenever it is, we'll be able to know very quickly how much work Kalin's done based upon the type of shape he's in and how much he's grown as a player. But we need him to. We expect him to. And obviously we want to see him have great success on the court. So this offseason is really important for Kalin. It's important because he needs to improve in those areas and grow from where he was this past year to where he'd like to be next year.
You talked a little bit earlier about Kent State and the support that is provided to students there. Can you maybe talk a little bit more why you think Kent State was not only a good choice for him to grow as a basketball player, but also as a student and person?
Well, we have a program here for young men and women who are on the spectrum, and I don't, by rule, I'm not allowed to get too involved in our students' academics. I have a counselor who really is involved with that daily, but there are provisions made for Kalin, with his classroom setting that, we all know that Kalin learns a little bit differently than some other students and sometimes needs to go at a different pace or have some individualized learning for him. We have a great academic center that's part of our athletic department where It's an academic resource center with tutors and learning specialists and academic advisors that work with our players. And then they've coordinated with our university's autism department for students with autism. And they've coordinated with Kalin's professors so that, the accommodations that are needed for Kalin are provided. And not every university is willing to do that. Not every university is able to do that. It's one of the special things about Kent State is it's such an inclusive environment here, and it's such an inclusive university on a whole, not basketball, just as a university. It's got something for everyone, and it's amazing that we were able to find a young man who was on the spectrum and needed to have accommodations and people that would support him off the court. He needed that and needs that to be successful here as a student. And Kent State has all of those resources and is willing to provide all of those resources as part of the education, process for Kalin. So he has a lot of people here at the university that that are that he's in contact with to make sure that every resource available for him is provided. And then again, just like every student, just like every college kid, and then it's on Kalin. He has to take advantage of those resources and be successful. Nothing, again, just like on the court, nothing's going to be given to him. Nobody's giving him a grade, a good grade, because he has autism. He has to do all the work that is expected and required for each class by each professor, but he has all the resources provided to him to ensure that he's successful. And then it goes on to Kalin to make sure that he's taking advantage of all those resources.
Now, being a founder of an organization, Autism Personal Coach, it's our mission to coach autistic adults and teens to become the best version of themselves. So I think the coaching process, you don't just help those you coach, but you learn valuable things from them. So what have you learned in your time from coaching Kalin over the last year or so?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and I'd have to probably do some deeper thought on that to give a more profound answer. But every kid in your program teaches you something. Whether in some way, shape, or form. The same way, and that's a great thought. Is that we're coaches and we're teachers and educators, but we're learning from our guys as well. As I mentioned prior, I had never really had much interaction with somebody that's on the spectrum prior to my recruitment and coaching of Kalin. And, you learn something every day from him in terms of how to motivate him, how he learns, how to teach him. And I think the best thing to do is to treat, I understand that all of my kids come from different backgrounds and have different experiences that have shaped them. But I try my best to treat everybody fairly. I don't treat everybody equally, but I treat everybody fairly. And I think the best thing I've done for Kalin is really not try to make the fact that he has autism a big deal. Are there times I have to pull him aside? Are there times, there's some things that I know he needs, he's a person of routine where we try to keep our routine the same as much as possible. Absolutely, we do. But when you're late for a meeting, you're going to get punished just like everybody else does. If you don't run the play correctly, you're going to, be held accountable just like everybody else does. If you're not doing the right stuff, you're going to be, scolded in your own way, just like everybody else will be. I don't want to treat him different, and because he's not. The similarities between him and I have 15 guys this past year on the roster. I'm sorry, 16 this past year, him and 15 others. There's a whole lot more similarities than there are differences. And at the end of the day, when you're trying to coach a group, you try to coach each one individually, but at the same time, we're trying to get our common goals and figure out what we can all do to help the team. And I think the more you try to do things individually, just separately, the more difficult it is for you to blend in to a team. And Kalin wants to be a basketball player. He says it in every interview. He wants to be a professional basketball player. He has a lot of work to do to get there. But I need to coach him like that's what his goals are. I can't coach him. One of the first things we talked about, I have 13 scholarships. I'm not giving out charity cases for scholarships. Well, I'm not coaching Kalin just to hope that he can make it through 4 years of college. Like, I'm coaching him because he has goals and aspirations. My job is to hold him accountable so that he can try to reach those goals and aspirations. And that's my job as a coach, is to try to help him be the best version of himself every day. So it's a long answer to probably an easy question, but I try my best to learn from him in terms of how to coach him and my whole team every day. And the biggest thing I'd say is that, as we all know, there's a lot more similarities than there are differences. And let's try to, when you're in a team, let's try to bring out all the similarities to get us to be the best that we could be as a group.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate you making the time today to talk with me. Thanks so much.
Okay, no problem, Doug. I appreciate you having me. Best wishes to you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode, and thank you so much to Coach Sendoroff for the conversation. I'm passionate about supporting autistic people, but I'm also passionate about basketball, and know it can be a sport that can be beneficial to many autistic people, as it gives you a chance to develop community, boost your confidence, and for some, gives the input your sensory system craves. And who knows, if you become good enough at it, it just might land you a college scholarship. Modern life is challenging for anyone right now. However, when you're autistic, the world isn't designed with your unique traits in mind, and everyday demands can feel insurmountable. At Autism Personal Coach, we celebrate neurodiversity by empowering adults and teens to be the best version of their authentic selves. The people we serve are the real experts. We're here to make their goals a reality. On next week's episode of Autism Stories, we will welcome back Haley Moss to the show as we talk about the fantastic documentary Crip Camp. Talk to you then.